My name is Kayode Bentley, okay? And I'm the president and founder of an organization called 4T's Productions. That stands for Teaching Teens to Think. It's my job to try and inform you, to help you, to re-engage you, youth like you, in your education. So that way you can complete college. Hold on, I got it. Everybody want to know? So that way you can complete your education, establish a career, and ultimately start a business if you choose to. That's my job. Because I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. How many of you know, there you go, right there, 149th Street, Lincoln Hospital, Park Avenue? That's where I was born and raised. And in my community, I didn't have any professionals that came down to try and talk to me and prepare me. And as an African American here in New York City, how many of you are familiar with, you probably not, and I didn't ask some of the young ladies that walked in here what grade you were in or what high school, but there's this thing called school to prison pipeline. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Have you heard of that terminology before? School to prison pipeline? Okay. So the school to prison pipeline is pretty much, I don't want to dive in, I don't want to bore you all, but the opportunities for young people are very limited. And if you notice anybody in your family, they pretty much, after high school, or even if they finish high school, they end up incarcerated or hustling and selling drugs. That was my community in the Bronx, okay? No one came to my community, such as a professional, to try and instill in me and give me information that I need. So now that you know me, you know where I come from, how many of you heard of a plan, a life plan? How many of you have a life plan?
Just, yeah.
Fantastic. And you have a 5 or 10-year life plan, is that correct?
10.
10-year life plan. Okay, how many of you here have a life plan, even heard of a life plan? Okay, now I'm going to get serious with you all. Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not here to make you smile. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to tell you the truth, and I'm going to drop some knowledge and science on you right now. If you don't have a plan for your life, somebody else has a plan for your life, guaranteed. That's a fact. If you don't have a plan for your life, I can't stress this enough. If you don't have a plan for your life, someone else has a plan for your life. Do you all know what I mean by that? Have no clue, right? Exactly. What I mean by that is, here's the plan. If you don't know what you're going to do, if you don't have a plan such as out of high school, I know what college I'm going to, out of college I know what job I'm going to go to. You have corporations that already, colleges that are already lined up to get your money. How many of you know how many of you know how much it costs to attend college nowadays after 4 years? Do you have any clue? No clue. All right, well, I'm going to address this now. Okay, this workshop is particularly the cover letter, resume, and interview preparation workshop. You're in high school right now. You're not even focused on your future. How many of you know where you're going to be? And let me ask another question, because I want to tailor this presentation to you to meet your interests. How many of you know where you're going to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now?
Still in school.
5 years, you still want to be in school?
Yeah, in college.
College, good.
I'm at college in Los Angeles.
Very good. 5 years from now? Not because you raised your hand, that's why. You're laughing. College, 5 years, okay. Which one? Okay, fine. So let me get this straight. Let me make sure I understand this. So 5 years from now, college, great. Now where are you going to be 10 years from now, after college?
I'm a director.
Director, pursuing your career.
Yeah.
I heard that. What career is that?
I don't know about you.
Exactly. Who do you think going to tell you what your career is going to be? Exactly. What's that?
I said that college.
No, it's not. You have to pick your own career.
Yeah,
That makes no sense.
From your college. So let me make sure I understand this. And Joe, step in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if you don't know what you're doing when you're in college, it's really hard to have financial aid and look for what you wanna have. Like if you don't know and you're in financial, like you're receiving financial aid, it's hard to switch around. You have to stay on path.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Did you hear that? You're laughing, but I'm telling you, you're getting to college. Okay, okay, you're in college, you're expecting college to tell you what to, let me jump right to it, guys. On average, get this, on average, your college tuition, and Joe, you just started college, am I correct? All right, on average, your college tuition, the total money you're going to spend for a college tuition in college, you can hold on to it, $460,000. Does that resonate with anybody? Am I make $460,000 on average?
That's for 1 semester.
4 years. For a 4-year college. But here's how it breaks down. On average, when you go to college, here's a fact, you're not going to complete your college after 4 years. And I'll tell you why. Because the way it's set up now, your 5-year plan is college, right? So after 5 years being college, here's why that's a fault. This is why that's a public script or a general script. Because what you're being told now is that if you complete your high school education, right, and the next step is to go to college, one of the things that you're going to choose in the college, you're going to choose a college that's a good college, right? A prestigious college that once you get a certificate from that college, you're guaranteed a good job. Am I correct with that assumption?
Yeah.
Right? 4-year college? Okay, here's the fact. There are college graduates right now who have degrees in college and they're unemployed. That graduated on time, that followed the script. Because you're told that get your education, complete high school, go to college, get a good job. There's no guarantee that with a college degree, you're going to get a good job or a job nonetheless. That's a fact. So here's another thing. When you choose your college, what is your criteria for choosing college? No clue.
Can you rephrase that as a quick question?
What is your process for choosing college as opposed to just going to a college because it's a good college?
By your interest.
Huh?
By your interest.
By your entrance? What do you mean?
What you're interested in.
What exact? Good point. Did you know that? Okay. Here's what we do as 4Ts. This is one of the things I want to share with you. And you need to get this because I know you don't get it, but follow me when I say this. I told you who I am. Now, what is my ulterior motive for sitting here sharing this with you? Why am I standing up here, taking time out of my schedule to talk with you all? What am I getting out of this? Right? What is my ulterior motive? My ulterior motive is when I was in the Bronx, I didn't have anybody talking to me. I had to spend 14 years out of my life, not just 10 minutes. 14 years out of my life to figure out what I wanted to do. Let that resonate for a minute. 14 years. I asked you, what is your 5-year and your 10-year plan? Imagine a 14-year plan and have no plan of what you want to do. To find out after, in your 40s, you're starting back at square one. You know how difficult that's going to be? If you have a child and you're raising a child and you're trying to make ends meet? Okay, so here's the point as I circle back. My job, what am I doing here? If you succeed, I succeed. So that means if the time that I'm spending here now, if 10 years or 15 years down the line, I see you running your business, I can be proud to say I had something to do with that. I can be proud that I have young people coming into the program and I can say, speak to this young lady, she was in the workshop or whatever, she can give you an entry-level position. I can be proud where I have resources for young people so when they graduate college after 4 years, they're not unemployed. I have people who I shared this information with who went on to be a success, who can give job and employment to other young people in the same community who didn't have resources. When I look back on that, when I die, I can be proud and say, thank God I had a purpose for my life. Bring it to that point. Why am I doing this? I spent 14 years in a company, and this is going to be fun for y'all. You might like this. I spent 14 years in a company, and I usually ask this, and let me just run right through it with this thought. I woke up one morning and I had a lump in my chest. How many of you are familiar with lumps in chest, cancer?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I had a lump in my chest. So that means if I went to the doctor and I got diagnosed and I could have 6 months to live, so I had to ask myself a question. If I died tomorrow, would I have any regrets? And the answer to that question was an absolute yes. Because here I'm working for a company spending 18 hours of my life. I made good money, but I have no life of my own. And here I have young people such as yourself here in this society, here in this community, who have no one coming back to help them. Would I have any regrets? And it was yes, I would. That's why I'm doing this as well. Okay, so now let me go back. We're going back. I know I'm all over the place, and I'm just trying to get y'all to understand how important this time in your life is right now. 14 years of my life spent in the corporation. Now let me ask you a question. We're talking about choosing college, right, based on what you like to do, based on your interests, right? So let me ask you a question. How many of you would accept a job that paid you 6 figures a year? Meaning, how many of you would work for a company that paid you, let's say, $100,000 a year? Raise your hand. Got you, Joe. So none of you would work for a company that, thank you. So none of you would work for a company that paid you 6 figures a year, $100,000. None of you.
I may.
You may. You may.
It
Okay.
depends on other.
Well, you want second?
Other things.
Right, the next question, 7 figures. How many of you work for a company that pay? I already know the 6 figures, you don't have to raise your hand. 7 figures. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping I'm right with this one, unless you just don't want to reveal yourself or what have you. That could be one thing. So, how much would a company need to pay you for you to work for them? How's that?
I think we go back to that.
I'll do like
statement,
$12 an hour at least.
Enough money so I'm good.
I
Enough
gotta pay
money.
my bills.
Let me take my bread
It
first.
has to be more than 7 figures. A lot of money, okay. Now see, more than 7 figures. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you work for a company that's going to pay you 7 figures, right, or to be comfortable, what do you think that company is going to expect from you?
Working on
Work every minute of your life.
Very good.
Best.
The vet. I worked for Bloomberg. How many of you heard of Bloomberg? I worked for Bloomberg. I worked in their computer department 14 years out of my life, remember? I made 6 figures a year. You know how much they expected from me? I was working on average anywhere between 14 to 18 hours a day. That means I had to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, get to work at around 7 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't leave. I didn't have a 9 to 5. I was required to stay there till 7, probably sometimes 8 o'clock at night. Okay, now that's just during the week, right? So I get home on average at around 9 o'clock. So that leaves me a few hours to recreate, then go to sleep, to wake up to do the same thing again. Guess what? I was working over the weekends too. So you're talking about 7 figures or enough money to make you comfortable. This is what a company is going to require of you. These are the realities that I'm dropping on you right now. Why is it important to have a plan? So let's get back to the plan that we talked about in the back. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but here. You need to understand, and y'all don't get this, and I can see it in the look on your face. You'll have to believe me when I say this, and I'm not blowing smoke, I'm not lying to you, I'm telling you the God's honest truth from the best of my ability. Every single one of you are geniuses. Every single one of you are special. You are made with a purpose. You are made with a purpose. You weren't born by accident. You weren't just born here by mistake. You have a reason why you're here. There's a certain skill set that you have that no one else has, that a lot of people need. And if you don't realize what that is, you're going to waste your life. Now I'm going to ask a personal question, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'm hoping this resonates, and I'm going to try and get to the point where I can hand out this material for you. How many of you in your family or in your friends or in your neighborhood know of an entrepreneur that owns a $1 million business? Joe? Nobody else. How many of you, if you wanted to, you can go to them and get employed and ask for whatever figure you want?
Well, my mom's employed with that person.
Does she?
Now working at JP Morgan.
Okay. Does she own that business?
She becoming a manager.
Okay, so but she doesn't own JP Morgan. I know she doesn't own it. So the point I'm trying to get to you is this. If your mother wanted to hire you and wanted to put you in whatever position that you wanted to, could she do that?
At this moment, no.
Okay. 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 If she wanted to, or if you wanted to be hired in that position and make 6 figures a year, could she do that for you?
If I wanted to?
If you wanted 6 figures a year and you went to your mother, Mom, I want to work at JP Morgan and I want to make 6 figures a year, make it happen. Make it happen for me tomorrow. Could she do that for you?
No.
Does anyone here have anybody in their life that can do that for them? So you're powerless, is what I'm trying to say. But you're not powerless to the extent that once you find out what your calling is and what your purpose is, then you start to control your life. Okay, so now let me get back to college and the 5-year in the regular script, right? So after high school, when you choose a college, here's some secrets I'm going to give you that nobody else has given you. There's no one dropping the science on you like this. Here's the trick. First of all, my suggestion is don't choose a 4-year college. My suggestion is, number 1, find out what you're naturally good at. Find out what you do every day, whether you sleep or drink, that your friends and your family compliment you on. Find out what that is. Whether it's counting numbers, whether it's recalling history, whether it's writing, whether it's drawing, find out what that is. When you find out what that is, then take advantage of it. when you get into college, find a college that's offering a degree or profession in that field. Here's why. I have statistics, and I'm gonna bring Izabela on the next one, but here's the statistics for you. And you're not gonna believe me when I tell you this, but it's real.
No, it's just.
Yeah, I know. I got it. Laugh, try, and it might be somebody I know, but I'm not gonna. All right. Here's the statistics that are waiting for you. You're in high school. Everybody's in high school. Nobody's in college yet. I know you're in college. Here's statistics for you, Joe. Let me know if I'm on or off and interject. Don't hesitate. And I'm trying to be as accurate as possible, and I'll get updated figures. I'll put it this way, over 80% of inner city youths who graduate high school and their big push to get you into college, over 80% of you are not going to complete college in that 4-year span. Guaranteed. They have no retention for you in that college. It doesn't benefit them to know. All it benefits them, real talk, is that you graduate from their school so that way they can add to their metrics that these are how many students that they got into college. Here's another tidbit, real talk for you. College education doesn't care about you.
No.
College is a business like any other business. They are in existence to make money off you. Remember I asked you, what is your 5-year plan and your 10-year plan? And if you don't have a 5-year, 10-year plan, someone else has a plan for you? That's their plan for you. So that means when you get in college, their plan is to make 4 years of tuition off you. Now we talked about college, right? And we talked about college tuition. Here's what you're looking at. And I know you can't see it, and I wish I had it up on the board. You're not going to complete college in 4 years. On average, if you're determined to get your college degree, it's going to take you 6 years. And after 6 years, once you get your college degree, it's going to cost you $460,000. College tuition has eclipsed home mortgage rates. So if you don't finish college, what are your job opportunities at this point? Now let me ask another question, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place, and I'm glad Tom is working on me because some of this stuff is resonating with you. I know, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that every single one of you here, do not want to be broke, do not want to be in poverty, want to travel, want to have a car, and want to live comfortably. Am I right?
Yeah.
Now how are you going to get that without a good job? Who's going to pay you to live that comfortable lifestyle? And who's dropping it on you real talk like this? You're laughing, but I guarantee you 10 years down the line, when you find yourself, and I'm not singling you out. I'm sorry, I don't want to look at, let me just look up in the sky so you don't think I can guarantee you guys that 10 years from now, if you don't take the information that I'm giving you right now and you start planning your life right now, I am telling you, I can guarantee you that in 10 years from now, you are going to find yourself in a minimum wage job working to make ends meet, probably the mama of a dad of a guy who left you. If you're a woman. If you're a guy, you're going to find yourself probably a baby daddy. If you choose that route. Either way, the point I'm trying to make, 10 years down the line, you will not have that comfortable lifestyle that you'll think you have a cakewalk through right now. If you don't start taking your life and your future seriously. I think I painted enough picture for you on it. So now, you got the bleakness, you got the bad news. Let me get the good news for you. Let me break down the good news. Right now, I'm going to be handing you out papers, which is your cover letter, your resume, and interview preparation. Okay? Real talk. And I'm giving you guidelines to avoid that. I am basically saving you the 14 years that I've wasted trying to be a success. Okay? And here's how that works. You're in high school right now. Some of you are in grammar school. First thing, before you leave here today, if there was, God, I'm not even going to say a fire alarm or nothing like that, but if this workshop had to end right now, the one thing I want to make sure I leave with you is this. Find out what you love to do. Contact me, contact 4T's Productions. Find out what you love to do. Once you find out what you want to do, when you get into high school, use the basic mathematics, which is reading, writing, and arithmetic. Graduate high school. Once you graduate high school, look for a college that caters to what you do naturally. That could be a 4-year college or a 2-year college. Here's why. A 2-year college is going to save you tuition. You won't be on this track that the world is giving you, that you get a high school diploma, you get to college, and you have a good job. You're going to buck that system. What you're going to do is you're going to choose a college that caters to your skill set, probably a 2-year college, which is going to cut your tuition in half. At the same time, when you get in college, and I'm going to get to the secret on that, when you get in college, the next thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to find internships. Build your resume. Work and volunteer at a company that does what you love to do. Add that to your resume. Put money in your pocket while you're still going to college. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you? If it don't, tell me. I'm here to help you. So let me assume you got it, and I'll move on. You go to college, you say you finish college, you get your degree. What is the first thing you're supposed to do when you get that entry-level job? Hands, suggestions. First thing. Yeah, anyone. First, when you get that job and you get that offer, let's say you went through the resume workshop, you know, you got your cover letter down, you got your resume, you cool. So you get that offer, right? You get that entry-level position. You get that first job. What is the first thing you're supposed to do when you get that job?
Don't you go to the job?
Yeah, show up on time, right? Do the job. What else?
I was thinking about like building up so you can get like a better position.
Good. You're on track. Joe, you want to add to that? Outcome? No. Okay. Here it is. No one's telling you this. No one's telling you this. God's my word. No one's telling you this. The first thing you do, Joe, check this out, Joe, check this out. The first thing you should do when you get that entry-level job, we're assuming now that you went through college. We're assuming this, right? You buck the system regarding to it. And because of the time, I can't break down the integral steps of the college process. So, you know, just grant me that. But let's say you got your college degree and you're in your first level job. One of the first things you do in that entry-level position, and this word might be a little over your head, but I'm not going to assume it is. I'm going to assume that you're on the same level. You got it. You're straight. The first thing you're supposed to do is build your network. Part of building your network in college is this. When you're in college, what you're going to be doing to build your network is doing what's called work-study programs. You follow? Work-study programs in college. So that means when you're in college, you're working at a company where you can build your resume. Is any of this making any sense with y'all?
So far.
So far? All right, so you build your network. That's where your network comes in. And here's why. You have what's called, what do you call those globes? Like you can tell the future? I'm not suggesting go to no psychic. I'm not saying. The crystal ball, right? Your crystal ball, right? So imagine me as your crystal ball, as it were. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You get into your job, right? The life, and you may notice, you may not notice, but the life duration on any job nowadays is no more than 4 years. 4 years. What do I mean by that? That means if you work in a company, after 4 years, they're looking to promote you or demote you. They're looking to promote you or fire you. It's no longer, when I was growing up, my parents could work for a company and they could retire in that company after 40 years. That doesn't exist anymore. Those companies that did exist back then are now shipped overseas. They don't exist here in the United States anymore. They don't. Do your research. They're being shipped overseas to India, Japan, China, where the wage of living is less. Okay? Real talk. So you have 4 years. So why is building your network important? Here's why. And I'm sharing you stuff that's going to help you. Because when you graduate high school, trust me, and you're looking for work, you're going to have to go to an employment agency or consult your friends or family to get you work. I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you on this. The importance and the basis of building your network is this is what's going to happen. The average person is going to go through the employment system. Okay? Go through the employment agency and get a job. By you building your network, the person that you met when you started on that job, 9 times out of 10, after 3 years, they're not going to be there anymore. They're going to be gone. They're going to move out because they had their 4-year term. So they're working someplace else. So because you network with them, because you got in contact with them, because you're a network, and let me put this in there as well. When you network with somebody, you're networking with somebody who lines up with what you love to do. So you're communicating when you have something in common. You understand that? So when this person starts at another job, you can easily call that person back and be like, listen, they're giving me the stink eye, they're looking at me sideways, they're talking out of me sideways, they're about to try and fire me. What's going on at your company? That person becomes your internal resource at that company. You've just bucked the employment system. You don't get this now, but I am telling you, in 5 years, you're going to realize what I'm saying, and it's going to resonate. That's the importance of building your network. So when you get that first entry-level job, you get that first company, your first job is to build your network. Yes, absolutely. Stay in contact with Izabela. I have information. You got it. Your job is to build your network. Okay, now with the time that we have, let me go into, before I go any further, the information that I shared with you just now, do you feel it helped you in any way? Show of hands, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't raise your hand because you think you're going to hurt my feelings and I'll be all upset. Don't worry about it. My job is to inform you. My job is to help you. I want you to be a success. This information that I'm handing out to you right now is the basics of a resume. So I stood up here and I talked about the system, how it's set up and how it's designed against you. But it's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to do you any good if I don't give you something tangible that you can refer to, because you're not going to hear me talk to you like this every day. You're not going to have this inspiration from me every day. So it's good that you have this information you can refer to when you start facing those challenges when you enter into your workforce. All right, so real quick as I go into it, I just want to drop on you some of the things that this resume basically cover, and it goes into, your resume shouldn't be 1 page long, it should be 1 page long. Your resume should have your contact information, the typical stuff. But if you notice if you go to, you have samples of the resume, but if you go to the 3rd page, I'm stressing this because it's important that you understand. And don't do this by yourself. Obviously get consultants, get some assistance with this. But what people lack when they do their resume is they fail to realize the effectiveness of action verbs. Because resumes, and you put your resume in, they don't want to hear yo, this and that. You know what I'm talking about, Joe. They want to hear articulate action verbs to let them know exactly what you've done on this job in your previous experience. So that's what that sheet covers. So if you look at that sheet, they talk about acquainted with, adapted, added, allocated, built, benchmark. These are key words that companies look at that help them determine whether you're going to be an asset for their company or not, whether you can benefit or be a benefit to their department that ultimately is going to make them money. Okay, so when you develop and write your resume, this is concrete information for you in this workshop. This is just not me talking and trying to inspire you. Concrete information. This is one of the things that you want to make sure you have included on your resume when you go into that transition, even after high school, when you start looking for work. Got that? Joe, is that helpful or beneficial to some degree? Okay. All right, so if we go to the next page, we go and cover the basics of a cover letter. Now, the general analysis of young people is you don't realize the benefit of a cover letter. Joe, let me ask you a question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, what have you. But like when you started, when you thought about looking for work, did you really consider a cover letter important?
Well, about that class I told you about, the first one, we had to make a resume and a cover letter and all that, and it really helped out.
Great. So before that class,
no.
Did you think a resume held higher priority than a cover letter?
The cover letter, yeah.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest things that we miss. So that's why the cover letter, because what the cover letter does is it let you have your resume, and the resume shows, what you've done, tangible, what have you. But a lot of companies want to know who are you as a person. Because a lot of things that's coming up now in companies, they want to know what your soft skills are. They want to know what your skill set is. They want to know, okay, what have you done, or how does your resume coincide with who you are as a person? You understand? So it helps with that personal connection with your employer or employee. So that's why a cover letter is important. And this information I'm not going to read it to you. You have the information in front of you, but it covers the purpose of a basic cover letter and the basic steps for writing a cover letter. So that's information you can take home and read and study and apply when you reach that point of looking for work, okay? The other thing that we have on the PowerPoint presentation is, and in this workshop, is, and Joe, I have to ask you because you're like the specialist in this area. I hope you don't mind me calling on you. But when you look for a job, because when I grew up and I was looking for work, I just handed in my resume, employment agency, and they find me work for it. I didn't realize the value of doing your research on a company. I had no idea how important that was. And the reason why is, when you go into an interview, pretty much you're sitting there and they're asking, why should we hire you, right? So you're sitting there, why should we hire? Well, this is what my resume say. I can do whatever you want me to do, whatever you need me to do, right? That's the typical thing. When I just want a job, I just want to pay my bills. That doesn't hold a lot of weight when you leave the office and they're evaluating who they're going to employ, who they're going to hire. What carries a lot of weight with them is when you're sitting in that interview and you can tell them about their company. You can tell them, I noticed that you just built up this department here. I noticed that your sales were doing well in this department. Or I noticed that there's a problem here. Or you can help point out some of the things that their own internal staff isn't pointing out to. That puts you at the top almost immediately. That's why doing your research on the company is so important. You, young lady, I don't want to put anybody else on the spot, but the information that you get here now, I can tell you, you're going to be dangerous because you're getting information that's seeping in that's going to be powerful. But that's why it's important to do your research on the company. And it doesn't have to be thorough. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be a major project that's going to take 3 or 4 months. We have technology today that we didn't have when I was growing up. You have Google like you wouldn't believe. You'd be surprised how much information you can find on a company with Google. From the CEO to the CFO to the Human Resources Director. And not only that, how many of you here, and I forgot to ask this question, I wish I didn't forget, but how many of you here have LinkedIn accounts? You know?
Like accounts that you can just log in quickly or something?
Wow.
No, I know what you're talking about, but no, I don't.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is an icon that has the letters IN in it. You see that? That's LinkedIn. If you have computers, which I'm sure you do, or a phone, smartphone, or what have you, go to LinkedIn.com. LinkedIn, and I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid for promoting them, just to let you know. Go to LinkedIn.com and open yourself up an account. LinkedIn is like Facebook, but for professionals. And I know all of you here heard of Facebook.
Yeah.
Right? LinkedIn is the professional part of Facebook. So there are CEOs, CFOs, corporations that are on LinkedIn that you want to connect with, and that's like your virtual resume. You follow me so far? All right. So when we talk about understand what your employer is looking for, you can basically do your research. Just say, by example, striking or getting in your network somebody who's at that actual company. So you're getting inside information now as opposed to just outside looking on Google. Right? So just take it back to the interview itself. So when you go into the interview and you're bringing up information in that interview that only the internal network people know, do you know they probably won't even let you leave that interview room without hiring you on the spot? Joe is laughing. He's like, thank you. You're very welcome. All right, so then if we go to the next page, because I want to leave the last 5 minutes, write down if you have any questions that you have. I know I gave you a whole bunch of stuff, and I might not have answered your questions, but I want to be able to answer any questions that you have based on my experience. I would love to. So if you notice on the next two or three pages, actually the next 3 pages, are examples of resumes, okay? So take a look at those resumes. And then the page after that is the interview preparation guideline. Okay? Right? And since we're talking about interview preparation, let me highlight some of these things already. But some people get caught on thinking that, one resume is it. Good. Very good. All right, good. So Joe's headed. It's always good to have more than one resume. Okay? Relative to whatever job you're seeking for, based on the skill set that you have. The thing you want to be careful of is on your resume, the timelines have to match up. So you can't have a gap in your timeline on your resume. You might not notice it now. So even though you have multiple resumes, you can switch it up. If it's more in fashion, any experience that you have in the volunteer work that you did in fashion or any volunteer work you did in a museum or whatever the case may be, you want to put that in on your resume. But you also want to make sure that you have, if anything on your resume, what you're doing currently, where you are from whatever time to current. That's important. But it's not a problem to have more than one resume relative to the company that you're looking for, omitting some of the things that you do, that you have done as far as work experience and what you haven't done. So multiple resumes are important, so keep that in mind. And then you want to have a theme for that multiple resume. So, file names and what have you relative to whatever that company is. Does that make sense to you all so far, guys? All right, so just keep in mind multiple resumes. You don't have to be stuck with just one. And then your personal experience, right? So your personal experience, so when we're talking about the interview preparation guidelines, one of the key questions, and this is, I wish they didn't leave, but one of the key questions that your interviewer is going to ask you, and I'm trying to get all this information into you with the few minutes that I have left, the key question that these interviewers are going to ask you is this question right here. Yes, say for example, in the perfect world, you got your college degree, right? You went through the whole education process, and we already know a college degree doesn't guarantee you a job. Right? One of the reasons why it doesn't, because in this interview, one of the key questions that they ask you is, we see that you're matriculated. You did all the studies you were supposed to do. You paid the tuition that you were supposed to pay. You applied for the scholarships that you were supposed to apply for, right? You did everything you were supposed to do. Dot your I's and cross your T's. You did all that, and you get in this interview, and one of the key questions they're going to base whether they hire you on is this one question. And that one question is, we see you're matriculated, but do you have any on-the-job experience?
Like how we, like, there's nothing like relatively to it?
Yes. Have you actually done this work? We see that you're matriculated. We see you went to college. We see you got this. We see that you're book smart.
That's why it's good to have internships.
Exactly. Joe said that's why it's good to have internships, work-study programs, working while you're in school. Because that's exactly what you add to your resume. So that way, one of the things that you do when they ask you that question, yes, I have. I actually worked here, here, and here, and I did this, and that. This is how it's relative to your company in this position. That automatically puts you 50% ahead of the pack. Automatically. Okay? So, I got 1 minute left. What employees to look for? Remember Google, remember LinkedIn, get inside information.
I'm trying to download it. It's taking
Good. Very good. Right? Find out what the employees are looking for. Because another thing that they look for in the interview, at the end of every interview, or close to the end of every interview, one of the things they ask you is this. So, do you have any questions?
Always ask questions.
I want to talk numbers, stuff like that, where I can comment on the check-in, stuff like that, emails, stuff like that.
If you have any questions, always ask a question.
Except for salary.
Except for salary, right. You're as a rule, general rule, yes. Always ask a question. But many times, the reason why you don't ask questions is because you didn't do your research on the company. Right? Many times the reason why you don't ask questions is because you haven't done your research on the company, so you don't know what to ask. You don't want to look foolish. You don't want to look embarrassed, right? Or you don't even know what you just like, give me the job. I just want to get paid. When you do your research, it gives you that confidence to ask questions. Something that they're not going to bring up in an interview, I guarantee you. I was doing research and I did some studies on your company, and I noticed this, and that. And it doesn't even have to be a specific direct question as what's the thing, this. It can be like, can you expound more? Can you share more? Can you enlighten me? Can you share with me more information on this? Or how was your sales last month or last year? You know what I mean? Or if, like, for example, Nike. How is Nike doing in this competitiveness with Reebok? If you're into sports. Well, how does Nike have any contracts with Cleveland Cavaliers? Just asking that question is letting them know that you're thinking. You're a different candidate, because I guarantee you over half the interviews that went into that job did not come equipped to ask questions.
They'll remember you better.
Very good, Joe. They will remember you better. You said something that made you stand out from the rest. All right, I'm running low on time, and then create multiple resumes. We talked about that. The next page, just the next page over, guys, is interview training, mock interviews. Visualization is important. The point I want to stress with this is do mock interviews. Like if you have a friend, mom, someone you trust, whatever, practice interviews. Can't hurt. Act like, I'm telling you, one of the things I want to institute and incorporate in these workshops are activities. With a lot of the young people I'm doing these workshops, I want to get you involved. I want to have you sit in front of each other. One person be the employer, one person be the employee, and practice. Because you'd be surprised at what you learn, what you learn about yourself, and what you realize in just that type of setting. Your posture, how you dress. I didn't even get into appearance is important. I didn't get into any of those things. But, you know, a mock interview kind of helps you with that, you know? You want that presentation is very important. Okay, guys, I ran over time a little. Thank you so much for your time. I want to ask this one question before I leave the floor open. The time that you spent in this workshop, was it worth it?
Yeah, very helpful.
Thank you so much.